Okay, welcome everyone. My name is Shirley and I will be your moderator. I am excited to welcome Chloe Hironaka, Sales Coordinator at Unitas Dental, as our speaker this evening for the TOP PPO, for the top PPO negotiation strategies. Please note that CE is not available for this webinar, live or on demand, but we will be sending one out, the webinar out for whomever is registered. Chloe, welcome, and thank you so much for being with us tonight. I will pass it over to you now.
Thank you so much, Shirley, for the introduction, and good evening, everybody. Thank you all so much for taking the time to be on this webinar today. I really appreciate it, and I know that I am super, super excited to be here. I always love these opportunities that I get to host webinars and talk to providers and office managers, any dental staff, any dental offices like yourself, about how they can get in a better PPO position and increase their practice's revenue through PPO negotiations or increasing your PPO reimbursements. So hopefully the information that I share with you today is helpful and gives you some insight into better understanding your PPO contracts. And I am confident that if you follow the steps in the framework that I outlined today, you can see an increase in your fees. And I know that with all the inflation in the last year, offices are working super hard and, very busy practices, but right now their revenue is capped due to their reimbursement rates they're receiving from their insurance companies. So hopefully this is the first step to getting you in a better position. So without further ado, let's jump into our top PPO negotiation strategies and how to raise your reimbursements. Again, my name is Chloe Hironaka. I am a sales and marketing coordinator here at Unitas PPO Solutions. And just some quick background on our company. If you aren't familiar, maybe this is the first webinar of ours you've been on. We have actually been servicing dental practices ever since 2011. And we have had the opportunity to work with thousands of practices all across the country. So we've had clients in every single state. We currently represent over 1,500 active clients. We're actually based out of Arizona in the Phoenix metropolitan area. And we make up a team of over 100 PPO insurance consultants. So we do work remotely for our clients. But again, why I love our company and the service that we provide is because we really are ensuring that providers are being treated fairly by the PPOs. And what's cool about our service is it doesn't require the office or the doctor to really change what they're currently doing. It doesn't require you to increase your production or treat a bunch more patients. It's literally just making you more money for the work that you are already doing. So again, super excited to go through this framework with you today. We're going to talk about the main points we're going to hit are how you can identify and map out your specific PPO participation and do that per provider and identify any issues there. We're going to chat about how you can utilize a proven 3-step PPO negotiation framework to boost your success. And then I'm also going to share with you a simple calculation you can use when forecasting your PPO negotiation return on investment. So as I'm going through all of this information, I know I'm going to be talking pretty quickly. It's a lot of information coming at you. So to help you follow along and, so that you can reference the information later, please download our PPO negotiation quick start guide. We've prepared this for you. So it's a webinar exclusive, so that you have all of the information that we're going to cover today, just at your fingertips so that you can have it ready to go and reference after the webinar today. So you can scan the QR code below to download if you have your phone ready, or you can head to www.ppoguide.com. Again, that's www.ppoguide.com, and download our PPO negotiation quick start guide. But I do also highly recommend that as we go, take notes. And if you have any questions that come to mind, please jot those down. I would love if you would reach out to me after the webinar so that I can get those questions answered for you. I am going to cover some frequently asked questions at the end, but make sure that you're taking those notes and getting those questions down as we go. So first, we're going to talk about how to identify and map out your specific PPO participation and identify any issues there. That's really going to be the first key step when it comes to getting higher reimbursements. Is just like an x-ray with a patient, you really got to have the whole picture of what's going on and who you're even participating with, who you're in network with. So we're going to talk about how you can discover and map out that PPO participation. We're going to talk about receiving and documenting your actual fee schedule reimbursements. That's also very key. And then comparing and repairing UCR versus reimbursement discrepancies. So when it comes to discovering and mapping out your PPO to participation, it's pretty key to understand that there are technically 3 different ways you can be considered an in-network participating provider. You can be directly contracted with an insurance company. We have what we call PPO to PPO leasing, which means you're in network through another PPO payer. Or you can be through what's called an umbrella network or a TPA, a third-party administrator. And I'm going to do a little deep dive on each of these different participation types next here. But that's a key thing that, again, I just want to preface this with, is that there's 3 different participation types. And when you're calling or contacting these insurance companies to verify if you're a network or not, you want to be super specific in knowing which participation type you are. Because a lot of times when you call up an insurance company and you speak with their provider relations, we just simply ask, am I in network? Right? That's the bottom line question. Or they'll just say, yep, you're a network. But again, that really doesn't answer what we're needing, because that doesn't tell us what fee schedule you're using. And depending on which participation type you are is what determines the actual fee schedule. So when it comes to reimbursements and bettering those, we need to know the participation type. So when you're calling, another key thing is that you want to make sure you're verifying per doctor and per location. A lot of people kind of count on that. If the owner doctor is in, all the associates are going to be considered credentialed, or just because all the providers are credentialed under the same tax ID number, or all locations are under the same tax ID number, that means that they're participating with all the same companies, they're the same participation type, and using the same fee schedule, when that is really not the case. In fact, it's probably more common for there to be discrepancies between providers and locations when there's multiple providers and locations involved than there to not be. So again, when you're calling, just make sure you're verifying your specific tax ID number, your specific location that you're checking for, and each specific doctor at that location. Again, just like when you're doing an exam on a patient, if it's twins, you don't just think, all right, I'm just going to do an exam on one, and then that means the other one's good to go. I'm just going to do the same course of treatment. You want to look at each one individually. So another added bonus to this webinar that you're going to get is a provider relations contact list. And we're going to provide that to you at the end of this webinar today. So hopefully that can help you as you're verifying the participation. You can know who you even reach out to, because we know there's nothing worse than sitting on hold with the wrong company or the wrong department and then getting transferred around, and it's just a huge headache. So the other thing I recommend preparing before you start calling for to verify the participation is have a spreadsheet ready to collect your information. I would recommend using an Excel spreadsheet or Google Doc, and in one column the first column, list out all of the insurances that you think you're participating with. Really, I would just focus on the major PPOs. So list out all the insurances, and then in each column, list out the provider that you're calling for. And that way you can just kind of go down the list and fill it in with the information that you find. So we'll have the provider relations contact list for you. You're going to have your spreadsheet ready to go, and then you're going to start calling or emailing and ask again, which participation type are they, direct, or are they through another company? If they're through another company, you want to verify which one. And then you're going to get the effective date, that if they are direct. So if they say, yep, they're directly contracted with us, then you're going to ask the 2 follow-up questions of getting their effective date. That'll tell you when they were contracted, and then ask for a copy of your current fee schedule. That will kind of knock out 2 tasks at once. So with those different participation types, to kind of dive into that, again, the first most basic, straightforward participation type I'm sure you're all familiar with is going to be the direct contract. So whenever you're directly contracted with an insurance company, you're always going to be paid on that insurance company's fee schedule, right? So in order to have a direct contract, you also at some point would have had to submit a credentialing application to that specific insurance company in which you're contracting with them. So you're agreeing that you are going to accept their fee schedule and be reimbursed according to that fee schedule. So you submit your credentialing application, they assign you the fees. When those patients start coming into your practice, you treat them, submit the claim, you're paid on that fee schedule, right? Very straightforward. Used to be the only way you could be a network with an insurance company, right, is by submitting that direct contract to them, that credentialing application. But now, of course, it's become more confusing, and we have what we call PPO to PPO leasing. This is extremely common. Most PPOs participate in some sort of a relationship like this. And a lot of times providers really don't realize that, or even the office manager doesn't realize it until maybe you start submitting the claims and things start processing as a network and you think, I don't remember ever sending a credentialing application to this company. Or you get calling and they're like, oh, you're a network through this company. And then you realize, okay, something's going on here. But basically what's happened is the insurance companies, in order to grow their networks, have partnered together and they agree to lease their providers out to any insurance company that they've formed this partnership with. So what that means for providers is you become directly contracted with this specific insurance company. You've submitted that credentialing application, and then they automatically lease you out to this other insurance company or multiple other insurance companies that they've formed this partnership with, the PPO to PPO leasing. So when those patients start coming into your practice, you submit the claim, and of course it can vary by the specific plan, but it processes as a network because you are a network through this insurance company, through that contract that you formed. And you actually still get reimbursed according to this insurance company's fee schedule, since they're the one that you've entered into that direct contract with that's linking you to that other insurance company. So that's what happens with the PPO to PPO leasing relationship is you contract with one, but they're putting you in network with these partners, their other payers, but you're still getting paid on the fee schedule of the company you have the direct contract with, the one you submitted the credentialing application to. And then we finally have the umbrella networking. Now, this is going to be the same concept as PPO to PPO leasing. The umbrella networks are the easiest way to think of them as being like a broker. They were specifically designed to recruit a lot of providers and put you in network with a bunch of different PPOs. So now, depending on which umbrella network you've joined with, you could technically get all those insurances picked up through that one umbrella network, but you're again now paid on that umbrella network's fee schedule, since that's the one that you've entered into contract with that's leasing you out to all these other insurance companies. So that's kind of a breakdown of the 3 different participation types. And as you can see, it's kind of this big web of everyone being connected together. And again, a lot of providers end up being in network with more PPOs than they even realized, and they're using different fee schedules because of all this contracting and leasing that's going on. So that's why it's very, very key to untangle this, and that's going to tell you ultimately what needs to be done in order to negotiate and optimize your fees. All right, so now moving on to receiving and documenting your actual fee schedule reimbursements. So it's, again, as you're calling to verify participation, I would just write then and there, the minute you find out you're direct, that means you're using their fee schedule. So ask them to send you a copy of your current fee schedule. Please don't just rely on what you have or what's in your practice management software. Again, more offices than not do not have their accurate or current fee schedules on file. So, the companies do change and update fees. So make sure that you are getting those and then updating Dentrix, whatever practice management software you use, with your current fee schedule. So when you're asking for that, sometimes they will email you the fee schedule directly. A lot of companies now have the provider portals. You can log on and just download it from there directly. So they'll be able to advise on that specifically, of how you can get that current fee schedule. But again, just make sure it's per doctor, per location. If they're on different fee schedules, you want to make sure you're getting all the ones that you're utilizing in the office. All right. And then with UCR, comparing and repairing UCR versus reimbursement discrepancies. So this is where we're looking at your office fees, what you're charging your procedures at, like what you would charge a cash paying patient, and what you should be listing on the claim when you're submitting to the insurance companies. And again, that's a really, really key part that I do just want to pause and point out here. I have seen from many offices that sometimes they do not list their UCR on the claim. They will just pull up whatever fee schedule from that specific PPO they have on file and then write that on the claim. You don't want to do that, especially for negotiation purposes. You need to be showing the discrepancy between what your office fees are, what you normally be charging the patient, and what the insurance company is reimbursing you. So I just want to make that super clear, because that is a mistake we sometimes see with offices that could make it very difficult to negotiate if the insurance thinks they're paying you their full fee already. So the other thing we want to make sure is that, again, no UCR should be at or below your highest reimbursing PPO fee schedule. You want to show that discrepancy. So what I recommend doing is getting another spreadsheet and entering your fee schedules. Just do it by company, do each column a different PPO. And then I would narrow it down to your top 20 to 35 if you're a GP office, a general dentist. That's what I would narrow it down to. If you do everything, that's going to be kind of a lot to look at. And then obviously in the first column, have what your UCRs are on your procedures. So I guess how you'd lay it out is your very first column would be the procedure code. Second column would be your UCR for that specific procedure. And then all the following columns would be each insurance company that you're directly contracted with. So that way you have the clear picture and side-by-side comparisons on everything. And again, to just make sure that no fee schedule is paying the same or more than what your office fee is set at. The other thing I highly, highly recommend doing, so doing the spreadsheet is like bare minimum, but I would highly recommend utilizing a percentile-based analysis tool to ensure that you're also priced competitively for your area. And so we use Henry Schein's fee analysis, and we've honestly tried a couple out there, and I think that Henry Schein's is definitely the most accurate and the best. So that's the one we use for our clients. That's what I recommend. But again, that'll just show you the different percentiles for their area, so you can see where you're at and what adjustments need to be made there. Because again, these PPOs, they are looking at what your fees are priced at, and we've seen a correlation between what they're willing to negotiate and reimburse you there. All righty, so that is our first section of going through verifying your participation, making sure you're getting all your current fee schedules on file, and updating your office fees, all in prep to move forward with negotiations, which we're going to talk about next. But before we jump into that section, I just wanted to provide this up again for any that maybe you just joined on a little bit late. This is our PPO negotiation quick start guide. You can go to www.ppguide.com to download, or scan that QR code with your phone. It'll lead you directly there, and you can reference everything that I just went over, plus everything I'm going to continue going through. You can have that ready to go for your reference. All righty, so now we get into the fun stuff. All of that, like I said, that was really the prep work, and it is really necessary to do to get you all set up and ready to go to negotiate. So I'm going to share with you our 3-step PPO negotiation framework to help boost your success with negotiations. So there's really 3 key things here. One is ensuring that you don't waste time on the wrong procedures, right? We want to negotiate and get higher reimbursements for the procedures you're doing all the time, really the bread and butter for the practice. And then we're going to talk about approaching the negotiation process and the most tactful ways to do that. And then, of course, we're going to talk about how you compare offers that you receive from the PPOs. All right, so first up, ensuring you don't waste time on the wrong procedures. All right, so I already kind of referenced this earlier when we were looking at increasing your office fees, but really what we recommend looking at is your top 20 to 35 procedures. Again, if you're a general office, I would do your top 35. For specialists, obviously, you're going to have more limited procedures that you're doing, so you can kind of look at all of them. But for general dentists, I would say narrow it down to your top 35. How you can do that is you want to export your annual production summary from your practice management software. If you don't know how to do this, I would just recommend doing a quick Google, or you can contact your practice management support and they should be able to walk you through it, no problem. But really, if you just literally Google how to generate an annual production summary from the software that you're using, it should pull up step-by-step instructions that you can follow. It's really straightforward, but basically you just want to ensure that the report is listed by procedure code, quantity, and production. Those are what you want to make sure that it is sorted by. And then once you get that data, you run that report, you're going to get your spreadsheet again, and you want to sort it by the highest grossing production. And so that way you can then cut it off at your 35 procedures or your top 20 procedures, wherever you're deciding to cut it off at. And then we're going to use this in the next step when we're comparing the PPO fee schedule offers as well. So just generate that annual production summary from your practice management software, and then sort it and get those top 35 codes of most concern that you're doing most frequently. Alrighty, so when it comes to approaching the negotiation process, most PPOs will consider negotiations every 2 to 3 years. Some companies, it's annually. Vast majority, it's going to be that 2-year mark. So from the time that you're originally contracted with the insurance company, or from when you last negotiated, they'll usually say, okay, in 2 years, you're eligible to renegotiate. So what you're going to do is you're going to reach out to provider relations. And again, you can use that contact list we're going to provide to you for being on this webinar, and request a fee schedule increase or a fee review. Pay attention again to your PPO participation and any leasing arrangements. Okay, that's why we went through all that work beforehand to save you time here. You only want to ask for increases on the fee schedules from the main payer. So for example, if you find out you're a network with Guardian, but you're paid under Aetna's contracted fees. So when you call Guardian and ask, how am I participating with you? Am I direct or am I through another company? And they say, oh, you're through Aetna. You're not going to reach out to Guardian to negotiate. Your contract and the fees you're using are Aetna's. So you actually just need to reach out to Aetna and ask, can I have a fee increase or a fee review on my contracted reimbursement rates? So because if you start reaching out to Guardian or all these companies you're being leased to, then they're gonna just defer you to reach out to that other company and say, we're not the ones that you have the contract with. We're not the ones that are setting the fee schedule. So that'll ensure you're not wasting any time there. When it comes to comparing offers received from the PPO. So again, using all the previous steps, you've now identified the procedures that have the highest quantity and production revenue. So in your spreadsheet, we're going to do kind of what we just did with when we were looking at updating your UCRs. You're going to compare what your current fee schedule reimbursement is versus the new fee schedule. Now, the reason we want to do this, and again, why we narrow it down to those top 35 procedure codes, is because sometimes an insurance company will give you an offer or what they call an alternate fee schedule in which they've increased some codes but decreased others. Okay. And it's really sad when we see an office that accepted a fee schedule that they didn't look at closely. They just thought, maybe glanced at a few codes and were like, oh yeah, it's an increase, or just literally trusted it as an increase. So they signed off and accepted it. Now they're locked into that for at least 2 years before they're eligible to renegotiate. And then they come to find out that they actually got decreased on some of the procedures they're doing all the time, and codes that they're never touching are the ones that got the big increase. So that's why focusing on frequency is very, very key when evaluating the offers, because some fee schedules may increase and decrease specific procedure codes. So in that spreadsheet, again, list in the first column the procedure code, second column your UCR, third column what you're currently being reimbursed from the insurance company, fourth column what the increase offer is. And then if you want to get really fancy with it, you can add additional columns to show like the dollar gain or dollar decrease amount, the percentage increase. So you can run even more numbers if you want. But again, that's going to tell you, make sure you're not accepting any decreases there. And then of course, a really big key as well is to audit your EOBs after you accept a new fee schedule. Again, don't just take it for granted of that they're giving you this increase and they're going to start paying you on that. It takes insurances a little while to update things in their system as well. And I'm sure any of you who have experience working with insurance know that. But make sure that once the fee schedule actually does go into effect, you're checking your EOBs and making sure you are being paid on the correct reimbursement. And if there's discrepancies there, then you obviously need to go back to the insurance company and see why they are not honoring the fee schedule they negotiated for you, or if it's a claim processing error, you can get that reprocessed. But do just note that most fee schedule increases do take typically 30 to 90 days. It varies by PPO to go into effect. So once you accept an offer, just follow up with the representative you're working with and ask when the fee schedule will go into effect, and they should be able to provide you with an effective date. Note that in your system, make sure you have the new fee schedule, update your practice management software with it, and then as of that date, audit your EOBs to make sure that they have been updated. All righty, so now we get to move into forecasting your PPO negotiation return on investment and ensuring that you really are maximizing your reimbursements. So this is really, where our company comes in, and can really make sure that you are in tip-top shape in the best PPO position. So this is where what we're going to touch on is ensuring that your fees are actually competitive for your area. We're going to talk about optimization, what that is, and how you can minimize risks there and maximize benefits. And then again, we're going to go over that calculation of how you can calculate your return on investment from PPO negotiations. All right. So when it comes to ensuring that PPO offers are competitive for your area, really, the only way that you can do that is through a third-party company. So us, Unitas, because we have literally at this point seen hundreds of thousands of fee schedules. We see the different trends in the industry and what we're seeing our clients get. And so we have that outsider knowledge that we can then advise if it truly is a good offer that's being given to you, or if it's not a great offer, and we can put you in network with something that's going to reimburse higher. So again, you can only negotiate every 2 years, so you don't want to get locked into a low fee schedule. You want to have that outsider expertise of knowing that what you're getting truly is a good offer, right? Just like a realtor, when you're buying a house, it's good to have that expertise and that knowledge of knowing that the price is right. And we have that data to compare. Also, when it comes to going through the negotiation process, it is true that we are the biggest PPO management company in the industry. So we do have dedicated insurance contacts that we do work with on a daily basis. We have that added leverage there that most practices don't have access to, or again, maybe just don't have the time to reach out and negotiate. But we have gone through this framework for, again, thousands of practices for the past 12 years now, that we definitely have, it's tried and true framework, and we have that track record of PPO negotiation and optimization success. Which again, now leads me into optimization and what that is. So I know negotiations is kind of the buzzword that gets everyone super excited. And as you can see, the framework we went through truly is the framework that we go through with all of our clients. We go through the steps of, okay, we got to know the full PPO picture here. We need to know who you're contracted with, and exactly which of those participation types you are, because not only is that going to tell us who we need to reach out to negotiate to, but again, it's determining the fee schedules that you're defaulting to, that you're utilizing. And so with optimization, where you can see even bigger opportunity than just relying on negotiations is we can actually go in and rearrange those relationships or change how you're contracted so that you can still be an in-network participating provider with the insurance companies that you want and need to be, but utilize a higher reimbursing path to participation. So just like the PPOs are using those lease networks to their advantage, I mean, in reality, what the insurance companies are doing, because most providers are technically over contracted, meaning several of their direct contracts, you pick up the same PPOs through or can, they're going to try to put you on the lowest reimbursing fee schedule possible that covers that specific procedure that you're doing. Obviously, we want to prevent that from happening and instead use those different relationships to the provider's advantage, so that if a company, a specific PPO you're with, is not giving a good fee schedule, then maybe we switch them to being under an insurance company that is paying a lot higher. And so what we can do once we negotiate and get all these current offers on the table, we can compare the fees and then accept the negotiated offers, but also evaluate these different paths to participation and fix your contracting so that you aren't defaulting to these lower lease networks or getting sucked into being a network with all these PPOs that you don't need or you don't want, we can get everything cleaned up there. And that's ultimately what's going to yield the highest reimbursement for your practice. So as we're reaching out to negotiate these direct contracts, really what we are doing is we are reaching out to these other insurances that maybe you're completely out of network with, or maybe you're in network, but it's only because you're being leased out through this other insurance company. And so you're being paid on their fee schedule. And we are going to them and starting the conversation of, hey, if this doctor was to become directly contracted with you instead, what's the best fee schedule you'd be willing to offer? And then we can, again, have all offers on the table from every single insurance. And because we know and actively track all these different leasing relationships, we can then decide, okay, does it make sense for the provider to be contracted in a way that's making them utilize the direct fee schedule? Or does this other PPO offer a really high fee schedule we want to funnel other PPOs through, or vice versa? They're currently going through this PPO and it's not very good. We need to get them out of that and go direct or go through one of those umbrella networks. So it's going to give you all of those options and opportunities on the table. So that's kind of in a nutshell what optimization is. It certainly is more complex than just doing direct negotiations. But again, it's really what kind of the underlying problem that a lot of offices are having, especially when you start participating with more than just one or two PPOs. So that's again where our company really specializes. I wish I could do a webinar in which I gave you the step-by-step formula of how to optimize, but it's totally specific to the office and who you're currently with and what the fee offers are. So there's no way I could ever do that. But again, that's where I think that you should have a conversation with us, and or we can step in and help there. So over the past, over 10 years now, we've implemented this plan and framework for thousands of dentists across the country and have really helped pioneer this representation for providers. Again, our whole goal is to help you make more money for the work that you're already doing. And we want to advocate for you and make sure that you're being treated fairly by these PPOs. I know that insurance companies aren't sitting you down and explaining how this all works. And again, that's why I like doing these webinars, because I think as a provider, you need to understand this. And as an office to be successful, it's really important to know what PPO contracting is and the fees involved. So that's what we're here to do, is we're here to help you make more revenue with what you're participating with. So we can project your return on investment through the average results we typically see for our clients. So we do have this scale here. We keep this very conservative, but on average, most of our clients that go through this service are seeing at least a 10 to 18% increase across the board on their reimbursements. 18% or above is going to start pushing into the above average range. 4% is going to be considered below. A really quick and easy way that you can project your annual revenue increase is by taking your annual production before write-offs. So for example, here we just put $1 million, okay? And then you take your percentage of patients under negotiable PPOs. So the reason we say negotiable is I do typically recommend that you exclude Delta from the equation, just because in our experience, and I know many of you have probably experienced the same, Delta Dental is definitely going to be one that your hands are going to be the most tied with as far as what your options are for increasing your current reimbursement, just because they typically do not negotiate. And historically they don't, and they also don't partner with any other company. So there is no optimization opportunities available either to get Delta through a higher reimbursing network or PPO and get those fees. So the one thing we can sometimes look at for providers with Delta is if you're eligible to be a Delta Premier only provider instead of Delta PPO and Premier. But that really varies by state and what the options are there and eligibility for the provider. So without getting into all of that, I would just recommend excluding Delta from the estimation, knowing that you probably aren't going to see an increase there at this time. So whatever your PPO patient base is excluding Delta, multiply that against your annual production. That's going to give you what we consider your negotiable production, which in this case would be $500,000. And then you can multiply it by that scale here of saying, okay, so really we're trying to get, this is the revenue that's currently being capped by your reimbursements, right? So if we were to increase this just by 10%, that's going to be a $50,000 annual revenue increase for your practice. If you're to do 18%, that's going to be a $90,000 annual revenue increase for your practice. 4%, $20,000 annual revenue increase for your practice. So again, this is money that's sitting on the table. We just need to negotiate and clean some things up so that it can actually get back into your practice. But those are kind of the typical results that we're seeing for offices that go through this framework. I did just want to kind of wrap up before we get to our bonuses and FAQ with some results that we've seen. So for Dr. Morgan in North Carolina, we worked with them. They had 5 negotiated PPO contracts, 2 optimizations, and their annual revenue increase was $64,000. For Dr. Baker down in Texas, they had 5 negotiated contracts, 3 network optimizations, and they saw over $79,000 in an annual revenue increase. And then for Dr. Young in Florida, they had 7 negotiated PPO contracts, 4 PPO optimizations, and they saw a revenue increase of over $100,000. Again, I can't emphasize this enough, but this is revenue that you're adding to your practice without treating any additional patients or changing up anything that you're doing. So going through this is certainly worth it. There could be lots of revenue you're leaving on the table. So again, just to recap everything that we've gone over today, here are the 3 key strategies to negotiating your PPO reimbursements. The first is understanding your PPO participation and current reimbursement rates. So you want to make sure you're discovering and documenting your PPO participation status with each company and collecting all your current fee schedules. That's going to give you the clear picture of where everything is at. We want to be really tactful when we're approaching negotiations. Make sure that you do not waste time contacting the wrong companies and that you don't waste time on the wrong procedures. And then you want to maximize your negotiation opportunities and partner with PPO experts, Unitas, to evaluate additional opportunities to maximize your in-network participation. And we can look at all those different avenues or paths to participation. Alrighty, so I'm sure you're probably feeling a little bit like this right now. It's been almost 45 minutes of solid content just coming right at you, information overload. But again, that's why we prepared this PPO negotiation quick start guide. So it has everything that I covered today for you. So please take advantage of this. Again, www.ppguide.com. You can scan the QR code and make sure that you download that PPO negotiation quick start guide. It's totally exclusive to people who are on the webinar. We don't just give this out. So definitely an added bonus. So what's going to happen now, right? We just had 45 minutes of listening to this webinar. You've been listening to me talk about everything. Now, depending on where you're at, you're going to go back to work. You're going to go back to scheduling appointments or treating patients. You're going to maybe go home, go grab some dinner. So if it's okay with you, I do want to hopefully make you an offer that can help you implement this a little faster, because the reality is going through this is a process. These changes don't happen overnight. So the sooner you can start, the better, because your practice needs higher PPO reimbursements now. You don't want to keep losing revenue on every patient that you're treating. So let's get this process going for your office. Let's get your PPO reimbursements up. So if you can go to www.ppoguide.com/go. So same website I've been giving you throughout this webinar, but just add the /go, or again, we have the QR code in the corner here. If you can go to schedule the consultation, you're going to get some awesome bonuses for being on the webinar today and having a consultation call with us. So just to outline what a consultation call looks like, it's a free 30-minute phone consultation, 30-minute or less, in which we will review your PPO insurances. So you can give us some background on your practice, telling us where you're seeing some issues, what PPOs you're with, so that we can, advise which of our services, if any, would make sense for your practice if we have the solution for you. And we can go over, what's included in that service, what it entails. And of course, we can calculate your ROI based on your current situation. So you're going to speak with a PPO consultant, a seasoned rep, and they'll be able to, be transparent with you and go through some different options with you and how we can help your practice. So in addition to getting that advisement, that free consulting, you also are going to get these awesome bonuses. So I already kind of hinted at this one earlier, but we're going to be giving you the PPO provider relations master list. Again, we make hundreds of phone calls every single month. So you can bet that we have a pretty solid provider relations contact list. This can save you literally hours of sitting on hold because you have the wrong number. This is going to help you collect that PPO participation faster by knowing exactly what number to call. So you can print this out, pin it up, keep it handy. We value this at $199 and you're getting it completely free. The next bonus is an e-guide. So in addition to our little PPO guide that covers what we went through in this webinar, we've also created an e-guide called 35 Common Insurance Problems and How to Avoid Them. So basically, after all the years of us doing this, we've compiled our top PPO solutions to our most commonly asked questions. So this covers a lot. It covers things from downcoding, balance billing, out-of-network benefits, when your office is undergoing an information change with your tax ID number or business name or location change. It covers the key steps to adding associates to PPOs, plus much, much more. So again, there's a lot of PPO problems that your office may be having, and it's really hard to know who you turn to or like what resources are available to get you the help you need. So hopefully this will be a guide that's super, super helpful to you. We value this at $299 and you're getting it completely free. And finally, I think this is my favorite bonus of all. We will be giving you our fee schedule analysis tool. So as I was going through all the different slides and saying, all right, you're gonna make a spreadsheet. I don't know about you, but I'm not always the most confident in using Excel or the Google Sheets. So this is a tool that will hopefully make this so easy for you. It's literally fail-proof. It's the same exact tool that we use to analyze our clients' UCRs and PPO fee schedules. So what's really nice about it is that it already has the automated formulas and calculations in it. So it's going to clearly highlight if your UCRs are priced too low, where do they need to increase? It's going to highlight how your reimbursements compare to your other PPOs. What are your highest reimbursing insurance companies? So it's a very, very easy, ready to use spreadsheet. Again, it's the exact one we use for our clients. It's valued at $499 and you're getting it completely free. So again, just to recap what you're going to get, you're going to go right now before you even get off your computer or get off the phone here listening, you're going to go schedule a consultation with us. we've been filling up really fast, but we have lots of availability for the month of July. So we are closed for the 4th, but the rest of the week and all the weeks following that, I think we have lots of consultation slots available. So before you get busy and sidetracked and this gets pushed off, and then before you know it, the whole summer has passed and you still haven't talked with us, just schedule a consultation right now. And that's going to help you get a free PPO evaluation. And you're also going to get these bonuses: the e-guide to the 35 common insurance problems, the PPO provider relations master list at $299 value, the PPO fee schedule analysis tool at the $499 value, plus hours of saved time, which we know is priceless, and higher PPO reimbursement rates. So you're getting a total value of like basically $1,000 worth of stuff completely free, just for being on the webinar today and then having a free consultation with us. And you're starting on the path to higher reimbursements. So again, schedule a consultation. Hopefully you've taken notes and questions from this webinar so that we can get those answered for you. Just with our last few minutes here, I did just want to touch on some frequently asked questions that we get. But if you have questions that I do not address here, again, we would love to answer them. So I really encourage you to schedule a consultation, but you can also send the questions to ppsolutions@unitasdental.com. And we will respond to them there. But just rolling through these really quickly, are there any PPOs that won't negotiate? Yes. So I'm not going to go through super specifics here because the reality is it can vary by state. Also, there's just different trends in the industry. Sometimes PPOs that historically do negotiate might be going through a time where they're maybe not at this point, or vice versa. Maybe some that used to not negotiate are starting to negotiate more. But obviously the biggest one I already addressed that our hands are going to be the most tied with is going to be Delta Dental. And with, these other insurance companies that may be tougher to negotiate with, that's why our company, again, has really honed in on optimization and looked at that as an alternate path to getting higher reimbursements rather than just relying on sole negotiations. So still lots of good opportunity there that we can look at. And it's always worth, even with Delta, it is always worth negotiating or reaching out and attempting negotiations. I just want to reiterate that, because just like anything, we believe that positive change will only occur if action is taken by the providers and the provider community. So you always want to make sure you're reaching out to request and negotiate, because you never know. The worst that they could say is, sorry, nope, this is the best we're giving you. So there's no harm, no foul in trying to reach out to negotiate. Alrighty, so can we work with Unitas? Yes, of course. I would love for you to work with us. And what do you charge? So that's obviously a question that I'm sure is going through in your head, of what do we charge? So we do have a couple different services that vary in price, and are kind of based on how many locations, how many providers. And again, we really do want to make sure that you're a good fit for our service and that we can provide a solution to what you're looking for. So that's why, if you really are serious about this, get on a consultation call so we can get the background on your practice and provide you with the most accurate quote and service that you would be a fit for. We are thinking about dropping PPOs. Is that something you can help with? Yes. If you listen to this webinar and you're kind of in the position where you're just feeling a little bit over it and you're like, we're kind of feeling like we're just ready to drop some of these insurances, but you're not sure which ones, or you're just super busy and booked out, that's usually a good sign that it's a good time to evaluate your PPO situation and maybe clean up or wane off some of these PPO plans, maybe drop the lower ones. But again, you always want to be super strategic about it. I never recommend that an office just starts submitting termination letters, because of all of that leasing, you really don't know what it might be connected to. So it would be not a good situation. And again, I've seen offices that run into this where they're like, oh my goodness, I submitted a termination to this company because we felt like we didn't have a lot of patience with them and the fees weren't good, but we had no idea that's the company we were using to access all these other insurances that we do have a lot of patience with and we want to continue being in network with. So if that's still your goal and you're kind of thinking of where can we get strategic advisement of where to drop PPOs, that's absolutely what we do specialize in and can help with. Alrighty, I'm opening or purchasing a new practice. How do I set up my PPO contracts? And do I need to get credentialed if I'm already in network at another location? All right, well, if you're in this position, first off, congratulations on your new practice. Super, super exciting. But especially if you're a first-time owner, we know it's an exciting endeavor and it comes with a lot of moving parts. So let experts come in and help take the contracting and the hassle of dealing with your PPO contracts off your plate. Even if you are currently an associate at an existing practice, you still do need to get credentialed at your new location. And this goes for even if you're associate practicing in multiple locations, you always have to get credentialed at the specific location that you are practicing at if you're going to be in network. And so also a really key part here is making sure that your credentialing is done correctly right off the bat. Because now is your opportunity, like we talked about, once you submit a direct contract to an insurance company, it may lease you out to all these other insurances. So we want to be really strategic with who we're picking. And also, it's your time to negotiate, because once you submit, you're not going to be eligible to negotiate for 2 years. They're going to set whatever fee schedule they're going to put you on. They'll probably just put you on their standard zip coded fee schedule. And then you're stuck with that for 2 years. So before you credential, it's really, really ideal to reach out and negotiate the fee schedules first for that specific location and you as the new owner doctor, and then make those strategic credentialing decisions based off of that. So if you are thinking about adding a new insurance company, or you are, again, building a new startup practice or purchasing, make sure that you hop on a call with us so we can discuss your credentialing options and things that you need to take into consideration, because now's your time to get it set up right. And again, a really common misnomer out there is that when you take over like an existing practice, that you just inherit the seller's fee schedules. That is not the case. That is not a guarantee that you will get the seller's fee schedules. If you're like, wow, their fees look really amazing, you better reach out first and make sure that you're getting that the insurance is going to honor those rates for you as the new owner. Or if, again, the fees are looking really low, well, now's your chance to reach out and see if they'll give you higher as a new owner. Okay. And then lastly, you're adding an associate and you want them to treat insured patients. Do they need to be credentialed, or do they just bill under me, the owner? If you have associate doctors and you want them to be in network and treating those insured patients, then they do need to be credentialed. You cannot just bill everything under the owner doctor, or rather you cannot be just listing the owner doctor as being the treating provider because they're the one that's credentialed and the associates are not. Some of you may be laughing and being like, duh, with this, but it's very common thing that we see with offices, that I just want to set the record straight and make sure that you understand. If you're adding these associate doctors, if you're planning on them being in network, you want the claims you're submitting to be processed as in network for your insured patients, they need to be individually credentialed. On the claim, you can still, of course, list the owning doctor and tax ID as the billing entity, but ultimately the claim is going to process according to who you have listed as that treating provider. And if that treating provider is not credentialed at your specific location or under your specific tax ID number, it's not going to process as a network. So make sure you get them credentialed. If you've got associates that are not credentialed, again, talk to us. We have credentialing services and we can make sure that they get all credentialed so you're in network and you can bill correctly and submit those claims correctly. All righty. Well, I think that's everything we have for today. So thank you all so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Please be sure to schedule a consultation with us or email your questions to pposolutions@unitasdental.com, and have a great rest of your evening.
Wow, thank you so much, Chloe. That was super informative. Thank you very much. A wonderful presentation. I also want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. We did record tonight's webinar and we'll email the recording out sometime in the next week. We would appreciate your feedback via our survey that will pop up on your screen shortly. And again, thank you all for joining us. We look forward to seeing you on future webinars. Thanks, everybody. Thanks again, Chloe.
Thanks.